Hello and welcome back. I am here with another indie book review, this time for Tunnel of Time by Jeannie Chambers. This is a mid-grade fantasy book the author sent me, and I am super grateful for it. This stuck out to me because the premise seemed very cute and also very clean. This revolves around three young sisters who find themselves trapped on a kind of strange carnival ride at the county fair. It is called The Tunnel of Time. These three girls are traveling on a little train that stops at different stations with animatronic figures displaying historical figures who then talk about their exploits. However, the train mysteriously breaks down and the girls find themselves all alone in this dark tunnel, and in trying to find their way out, instead stumble across different worlds entirely, or should I say multiple different worlds, because instead of exit doors, they find what are essentially portals to other places in time, and they meet the real-life people the animatronics are displaying. Now, I am a history fan, so naturally that was very intriguing for me. Now, when it comes to middle grade, there are kind of like two separate age ranges within it, because middle grade spans from, third grade to maybe 8th grade, more likely 7th grade. By 8th grade, most kids had moved on to YA. So you're talking a pretty wide range of kids reading mid-grade. So I tend to group it into the younger set, which is your late elementary school versus middle school. This, while the character is 12 years old, I would categorize this as the late elementary school mid-grade. The wording and that kind of thing are fairly simplistic enough for, say, a 3rd to 5th grader. And honestly, I've known a lot of middle schoolers that would probably consider this beneath them. But definitely good for that younger age. I will say I appreciated the names that I didn't recognize. You've got your standard historical figures, Martin Luther King Jr. and Helen Keller, and the basic ones that I think every American kid post to like 6th grade knows. But there's also a couple that I had never heard of. Diane Fossey, the animal rights activist that was assassinated, which, intense. There was also Theophilus the creator of a bunch of amusement park rides and revolving doors. He wasn't my favorite, so I didn't really remember him all that much. It is very cute. The sisters, Gracie, is it Gracie? Yes. Gracie, Lizzie, and Reba D are very cute and close-knit. While the synopsis kind of might lead you to believe that Gracie is the sole main character, the other two girls do get their heyday, do get a chapter or two for their own. So it was really nice to see the different points of view. I think Gracie's probably the one I related to the most, just because she was probably the least girly, at least for me. Although I was second born out of my sisters. In general, it was really cute. I was surprised by how much Jeannie Chambers was willing to talk about, because it does mention that Diane Fossey was assassinated, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and at one point they see footage on the TV of Bloody Sunday, which I was impressed that that Jeannie Chambers was willing to tackle that kind of subject matter for such a younger group. I believe the youngest sister in this is like 7 or under 10 years old. So like I said, it reads a lot younger. I loved the section with Helen Keller. That was so sweet. It actually inspired me to go look up a video. If you look on YouTube, you can find a video of Helen Keller from like the 1950s, when she was an old woman, maybe even before the 1950s. The one thing that kept this from being a totally adorable 5-star, and this is totally on me, was the part with Thomas Edison. Now, I don't like Thomas Edison. As a general rule, I have studied too much into the nitty-gritty of history throughout my degree to like him all that much. And this book kind of, very much romanticizes him. It romanticizes a lot of the characters, like they're not talking about a lot of the personal faults of the people they discuss, which I can understand. A lot of younger kids haven't gotten to the part where you can be a kind of bad person at some aspects, but then turn around and be a good person, or you can be a good person, but maybe there's still a couple things you did wrong. However, I just don't like Edison. They talk about all his inventions and how much he loves his family, and I'm sure that was all true, but I also know all the horrible things he did, the kidnapping people's pets to electrocute them, to show how unsafe the current was of his opponents, and electrocuting circus elephants who had gone on rampages, and saying that the newfangled telephone was never going to take off, and then trying to get a monopoly on it when it did. I just don't like him. He wasn't that great of an actual inventor. He was a better businessman. So that part where he, is being shown as this upstanding inventor bugged me, especially because, due to plot that I will not reveal, he got longer time than most of the other historical figures, so that on top of it made me not as big of a fan. So this is 4 stars, not a straight 5, only because it's a me thing. I don't like Thomas Edison being praised all that much. The nice thing is that if you give this book to younger kids, they are genuinely going to learn new things. I feel that if you wait too long, like past 6th or 7th grade when the social studies gets real, they might know most of what it talks about. Again, there was still two new historical figures that I didn't know, but because it is fairly short and there's a lot of different historical figures, they don't go too much into any one person's life, so it's base level. However, if you're talking younger elementary school, they don't get as much social studies. Elementary school tends to focus more on reading, writing, and math, where science and social studies becomes a thing more and more as they grow up before it becomes its own everyday class in middle school. Some 5th grade classes might teach science and social studies every day, but it's not as common. So this definitely would be great for late elementary schoolers, if you have any of those in your life, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, that kind of thing. Now, obviously, I will say pretty much every character in here is based in America. There are a couple places where they don't necessarily travel within America, but for the most part, it's very American history. So if you're outside the country, I don't know how much kids will get out of this unless you love American history or have a way to research it. Obviously, the internet is a good go there, but it is very focused on this country. So if you're looking for a very rounded look at world history, maybe not the best bet. But I feel like for a lot of kids of the age range that I would suggest this book for, they don't know that much about their own history yet. So that's a good place to start. And then you can work on world history later. So in general, I love this. It was very cute. It was very well made for children. But I would say probably on the younger side of mid-grade. You're not dealing with talking about puberty or anything, despite the fact that the main character is 12. It's not on Jeannie Chambers. It's just my thing with Thomas Edison. But they talk about a lot of deeper topics, not very much in depth, but it brings it up. So it could be a very nice book to start conversations with history, with your kids. So definitely look into this if there are any kids in your life, or if you just love mid-grade and want a nice, charming read. This was pretty fast. The pages are pretty, the size of the font is nicely spaced, so you could get through this pretty quick. It's really sweet. I was a very big fan, and I would suggest it for any children in your life. Thank you so much for watching. I am trying to put out multiple reviews because I got so many books to review. I'm so happy for everyone that has ever sent me one. If you would like to send me a synopsis of your book to review, please email me. I'll have my email down in the description. Again, I'm very full up right now, so it's not going to be anytime soon, but I will always, always, always be interested in looking into more indie books. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.